Imagine for a moment a world without art and culture, without music, without cinema, without dance, opera, literature, poetry. That world would be a very, very dull place, devoid of imagination, the one thing that distinguishes us as human beings from other species.
A world where all these things would indeed be very, very dull. But why are we even considering living in a world without them?
Well, that's because as our nation has grown, our connection to the arts and culture has shrunk. Cuts all across the country have seen museums, galleries and exhibitions have all been forced to adapt to new strategies in order to be able to deal with a smaller budget.
As students whose futures can be heavily influenced by these cuts, it's incredibly vital to investigate the importance of the arts to the development of our society and culture, and peel through the layers of falsehood to find out what is really happening to our heritage.
Welcome to the Arts Exposed. This documentary will be looking at the importance of the funding to the arts from the past, present and future. We'll study key figures from the artistic community and how their influence is still felt today. How the current budget cuts and shifting attitudes towards the arts is shifting opinions all across the nation, but also how it's felt here in Nottingham, from our museums to our university societies. And finally, what could this all mean? How will the job market be hit, or the places of arts themselves? Let's find out.
It's Hollywood's big night, the 32nd Annual Oscar Awards, with a dazzling crowd of filmdom's great names packing the house.
For centuries, humans have been creating, building, developing, innovating, influencing. What begun as the most original ideas at the time turned to changing and adapting these to be better suited as lifestyles and societies changed. From the Wright brothers and their innovation of flight, to depictions of Van Gogh in modern day, to imaginative covers of some of the oldest and greatest pieces of music known.
Every corner of the world has been touched by creations of the past, and it's the free and creative thinking that has led to the technological, explorational, and social discoveries.
From magnificent architecture still standing proud today, to music festivals attracting people from all over the world, immersive theatrical performances, to galleries full of colour and history that emanate from the pieces on display.
The people of the past have no idea as to how incredibly influential they've been to the development of our cultures and societies. But where can you go to experience all this? Well, the answer is anywhere.
I'm standing on the shoulders of all of those artists who came before me. But here there's a space for a new way of seeing black and brown bodies all over the world.
Kehinde Wiley, a Nigerian-American artist and a prime example of taking something from the past and turning it into your own work. Wiley took the original oil painting Bonaparte Crossing the Alps by Jacques-Louis David and turned it into something of his own. Raising questions of race and social class, Wiley's painting hangs proudly in the lobby of New York's Brooklyn Museum, establishing him as a major player in the contemporary art scene.
And the beauty of building on all those inspirations and influences that have long since left us means all those original ideas will be their own, respected and revered. Nottingham is home to numerous places of art, performance and culture that see a wide amount of visitors throughout the year and is widely respected amongst the artistic community across the nation. Here at the Nottingham Contemporary Museum, we are currently seeing the largest UK exhibition of Simon Starling's works, which is being showcased throughout the whole of the summer, with most of the dates at the moment already fully booked out. Museums like these allow the enthusiasts and the dabblers alike to muse at the works of art from around the world, to share their opinions and to interpret the pieces in countless ways. Where else is it possible to interact like this? The recent cuts seen across the UK make it seem like things are, at best, going to stagnate, potentially leading to a loss of interest from investors and developers, which can translate into closure. However, it's not all as bad as it seems.
And increasing the cash that will go to the Arts Council, our national museums and galleries. We'll keep free museum entry and look at a new tax credit to support their exhibitions.
When questioned on the cuts to local councils and the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, Mr Osborne stated deep cuts to the department would be a false economy, telling the House of Commons that £1 billion a year in grants adds £250 billion to the economy.
Yet despite the £1 billion investment Mr Osborne claims will be added to the DCMS, this completely contradicts what the council members of Birmingham have had to do and deal with.
In 2010, they announced there would be a 17% cut to their arts funding. In 2013, 20%, and in 2015 it raised to 25%. Now, they are considering slashing £1.25 million by 2020, a decision made by the City Council, but forced by our government.
Yet there is always the potential to be hit by the cuts. Nottingham Playhouse, which is world famous for its adaptations of The Kite Runner and the pantomimes that run here throughout the year, saw 100% of its annual county council subsidy cut in 2014. This was totalling £94,500. But where did this all go?
I reached out to Nottingham East MP Chris Leslie to see what he had to say. Councils have had to make difficult decisions in the face of significant cuts from central government, and I'm sure the decision to cut funding to the Playhouse was not taken lightly. In response to this, I asked Mr Leslie what his stance was towards the cuts that the nation faces. He said, "I believe the cuts are part of the government's wider ideological aim to permanently reduce investment levels, not just in the arts, but in other areas too. I believe this approach is not just bad for us culturally, but for the wider economy as well."
And it's not just the local museums and galleries in Nottingham that could take a hit too.
Nottingham Trent University is known to have some of the best media courses in the country, as well as their award-winning student-run TV and radio stations, Trent TV and Fly FM. I spoke with broadcast journalism students Billy Taylor and Lydia Meredith.
We're not undervalued, maybe. I suppose our course hasn't got as many students on as a law course or a business course. They're going to need more money because there's more students.
Can you see the cuts have an effect on your degree at all?
Not particularly. It's the most funded course in arts and humanities. The funding here hasn't really been affected as far as I can see anyway. My mate who does architecture, their funding gets cut by 50%. They can't afford lecturers, they can't afford people to actually teach the course.
Have the funding cuts, do you feel they've had any impact on the society?
To run a radio station, it is expensive. Equipment is just so pricey. Software will always need updating. I mean, things get broken, which can't be helped. Even though we might be arts and they might want to put funding for something else a bit more academic, it's like we've got the practical equipment that we need to give our students the ability to shine and to get the best that they can get out of, to add things that they might not be able to do on their course so that they're more employable in the future.
The arts has taken a battering to its attention, respect and credibility in terms of the value and understanding from members of the public. This hasn't always been the case, however, as recently we've noticed a shift in attitude in the government. For instance, trends suggest that in conjunction with Tory initiatives to seemingly tier important subjects, the gap between the academic and the creative has increased. Nottingham, being a city of varying backgrounds and types of people who live here and come to visit, is a prime example of how the arts has been and is the heart and soul of the city. But what about the bigger picture? Whilst thinking about the impacts caused today, we should always be wary about the effects our actions will have in the future, always considering what possibilities will occur. During the filming of this documentary, announcements were made to once again raise the tuition fees for university. Of course, there was outcry, with petitions to abort the plans being shared across social media platforms and is currently sitting at 45,000 signatures. With thousands of students having already been priced out from the recent increase to £9,000, this can only mean that many more who have the intellectual ability but lack the financial stability will be dissuaded from going to university. So what could this mean for the students looking to study within the artistic sector and eventually the hunt for jobs? Well, with the cost of attending university potentially rising, and along with the lack of value the government are giving to these courses, young people will begin adopting this attitude too, causing a potential decline in demand for jobs within this sector. Whilst the extensive budget cuts across the country could have a multitude of knock-on effects, hurting the economy and the link we hold to our cultural heritage.
Theatre is really important because it's a big part of our entertainment culture in British culture because of history, and that was like the form of entertainment that they had. So to cut it, I think it's a shame.
I think universities, lecturers in particular, people who actually teach the subjects will probably be the ones who suffer the most.
Despite the struggles the arts has, is currently, and will continue to face, we can take solace in the fact that one way or another, artists and creators have managed to fight out of the corner and survive.